Well, it's Entrepreneurs Week here in London, and what a great pleasure it is to have Carlos Moreira, one of the feature speakers at the Guild of Entrepreneurs here this evening, who's shared some great insight into his own entrepreneurial experience. And Carlos, I know, of course, because you've graced the stages of the M&A Advisor over the last couple of years, introducing us to cybersecurity. I think you broke that story for our audience, and we've continued to watch its evolution. But what we talked in length about tonight was your transition from the UN to a life of entrepreneurship as you are presented today as the overnight success story, which we all know was 15 years in the making. I'd love for you to share some of the background about that transition.
So David, thank you very much to have us again here, this time in the UK. Yes, the UN for me was the best possible environment to understand how this technology will evolve, not only from a purely commercial operation, but also geopolitically. Cybersecurity is not only a technology issue, it's control of the internet, who's going to regulate the internet of the future, where are located the cryptos, who use those cryptos, where that data is going to be stored, who owns that data, personal data protection. So my time in the UN helped me to understand the way governments think about this. The internet is a utility, it's not only a platform, it's a utility, it's like water, it's like electricity. It has huge consequences in controlling the internet. That's the reason why so many powers are trying to do it. The UN, as you know, is composed by Security Council, so the superpowers are members of that Security Council. It's a good way to regulate everything related to regulations, and also the fact that the UN is behind many of the international standards. You know, ITU is a UN agency that does telephony standards, X25, 3G, 4G, all that belongs to them. You have WHO with health standards and everything related to health. You have WIPO, which is intellectual property standard. So it's normal that a person working in the UN for many years, like I was, helping the government to be secure over the internet, will gain skill sets that then can be applied to the private sector and launch successful ventures. So it was a great education for me, and it was also a way for me as an entrepreneur to return to the society part of my time. I think this is important.
Well, Carlos, you know, we talked this evening in the forum about the convergence and combination of emotional quotient, intelligence, effort, and experience. I'm going to guess that there were perhaps more safety nets for you at the UN for your pioneering efforts than you've been afforded with WiseKey. But one of the big breakout initiatives that you undertook was approaching and aligning together with the Swiss government to develop an e-voting system, something that while it's commonplace in Switzerland today is still only being talked about in other developed markets. And I'm curious, as we're on the eve of an election in the United States, and what we're hearing consistently is a desire for voters and potential voters to have more of a voice. Is this something that we could expect to happen in the United States or even here in the UK?
Yeah, when I launched the idea, because that was an idea in 2000, actually just a year after WiseKey was created, to use the dual-factor authentication or asymmetric key technology to conduct binding online transactions, which is an e-voting. It came actually I was surprised, and the politicians at that time, they thought it was a great idea. In another country, maybe you will have to go through all kind of filters. In Switzerland, because Switzerland is a country which has a long tradition on postal voting. People go to the post offices to vote, or you can even vote from your house and put that in an envelope. So the mindset was already there to accept a decentralized voting system. When you apply that to another country, to be honest, you need to reach that election maturity before being able to deploy a project like that. In the United States, it will be obvious that an online election over the internet will happen. At least I will call it on the process of selecting candidates, for instance. I mean, you have the possibility to, with our technology, download apps. Those apps can allow you to authenticate yourself with dual factor authentication, establish an identity so you can only vote once and you cannot vote twice. This technology is being proven. I mean, we have been doing this in Switzerland for 15 years. We conducted something like 100 elections already, and we changed very important decisions has been took through that process. In the United States, it will be totally possible, at least, as I say, to select a potential candidate. I guess the technology is there. Is the citizens at the national level will love to do it, because you have to think that online voting changes sometimes the vote itself. The young people vote more. In the case of Switzerland, we got surprised to see that people normally, then they have no interest whatsoever in voting, become massively engaged, especially people between 18 and 25, because they don't need to go to the ballots, just vote from their houses or while they are skiing in the mountains, right? So I think that will change totally the dynamics. I think the United States is ready. It will take some kind of political will to do it, but in terms of the technology, I absolutely see no reason why not.
Well, I think it's just another element of what lies in front of us when we look at the Internet of Things, cybersecurity, blockchain, and the high probability that we're going to have 60 to 70 billion devices able to connect to one another.
Correct. So things are going very fast, and they will go even exponentially faster. The Internet of Things is the genesis of what we call the fourth industrial revolution, which is basically connecting, as you say, 60 to 70 billion devices in the next 4 years. We have already something like 3 billion devices connected. But suddenly you're going to have your car connected, your house connected, your office connected, traffic lights connected. Intelligent cities are emerging. Microsoft just announced 11 intelligent cities yesterday. So this is a process that is taking radical changes on the way the internet is designed, because the people that they originally designed the internet never ever expected to have even 3 billion people. I mean, now the internet connects over 5 billion people, and if you put in the top of that 50 to 60 billion devices, imagine the complexity to do that. And the current internet control, which is done through the ICANN, IPv6, and those protocols, they are not the solution for the future. I mean, those protocols were not designed for the complexity we are putting. So a new internet is emerging. The industry is calling that the industrial internet. Germans, they call that Industry 4. Which is, the thinking is that the new companies of the 21st century are a software company, that they have already embedded those technology within the company itself. So where customers, products, or anything that relates that company leaves the company, they are always fully authenticated and able to reach them anywhere in the world. So BMW would like to know real time how their cars are performing. If the car is having any problem, they would like to know first than anybody else. General Electric would like to know that their engines in the airplanes are functioning well or not, and they would like to collect that analytics. So the Industry 4 is not only a technology revolution, it's also a business revolution. The problem we are facing is that to secure the internet, to put this industrial revolution on the top of the current internet, we will need to invest something like $170 trillion, which will be the cost. Obviously, we have no money for doing that at the government level. That has to be only possible if the big industries, the sensor company, the chips company, the semiconductors company, all of them, they enter into this new revolution, which is the industrial internet.
Well, Carlos, you're credited with being one of the pioneering envisioners of the fourth industrial revolution. I'm particularly interested in the technology and the effect that it has on industry, but I'm also particularly interested in what it means to entrepreneurs, because I think that the entrepreneur that we know of my generation and those that preceded me is not going to look the same 10 years from now.
Yeah. I think we were lucky to be in a situation like the first people when they created the telecommunication infrastructure, or the first telco company. I mean, we are in that generation, and they had a huge role in what you're building. That's why entrepreneurs were so important and so visual, because they were people basically disrupting new industry. Now we are entering into what we'll call the molecularization of entrepreneurship. Means highly specialized individuals, that they will have a unique skill set, that they will know more than anybody knows about something very specific. And because the internet is going to give to them the possibility to reach out to 6 billion people and being able to use machines to increase their capacity. I mean, we are in a situation where machines are going to be able to complement your thinking. They're going to be improving the way you operate. Machines are going to be partners of the human intelligence rather than be just a non-intelligent object. So this is going to create a total new disruption on where humans are going to be able to solve more complex issues than we are able to solve now. We are still unable to solve environmental issues. We are able to solve what we do with nuclear waste. I mean, there are amazing things that we don't know currently how to solve it. Yeah. With this, the next generation of the fourth industrial revolution, we're going to be able to use the power of those machines to help us to solve very big problems.
I agree, and I think we're raising a generation of individuals that are very comfortable with technology, right, and I think have huge beating hearts with a great interest of doing good beyond the products and services that are being created, to be able to have a positive effect on everybody's life. And I'm always so thankful to have the opportunity to be able to sit and listen to you, to be informed, and always to be inspired. Thank you.
Congratulations for today's event. Is a great way to bring new generations to enter into the entrepreneurship world. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Our pleasure.
Thanks, Carlos.